Welcome, everyone, to another edition of FinTalk, where we'll delve into the world of finance and wealth building. I'm your host, Renarda Joy, and I'm thrilled to have you join us tonight. I hope everyone has been enjoying the series and that you have begun to take action towards achieving your financial goal. Tonight, we are honored to have with us a true expert in the field of personal finance and entrepreneurship. So let's dive in and start with his bio. Now, as I'm reading his bio, be sure to grab some pen and paper because I promise you, you're going to want to take copious notes. Phillip Taylor, known affectionately as PT, is a CPA and entrepreneur, founded FinCon in 2011, a leading conference for personal finance content creators, growing it to nearly 3,000 attendees and 1.6 million in revenue in under a decade. Featured in top media outlets like the New York Times and Forbes, PT's work significantly impacts the personal finance community. So join me and let's welcome PT to the conversation.
Hey, Renarda.
How's it going?
Going great. I'm happy to be here
Awesome.
with you.
Awesome. So, PT, the title for today's conversation is Financial Success Unlocked. And as we kick off our discussion, I'd like to delve into your personal journey of transitioning from entrepreneurship to, from corporate to entrepreneurship. And how did this significant shift shape your personal finance?
Sure. That was a big leap for me. I'm a very risk averse person. I came up through a normal path, getting my accounting degree, getting my CPA license, and sort of coming into working in public accounting and then ultimately in corporate finance. And so I chose a lot of safe paths early on in my career. And I was probably 6, 7 years in when I started getting the entrepreneurship bug. Um, and ultimately, when I did make that leap, it certainly affected my finances. I would say even thinking about moving toward entrepreneurship changed my mindset on finances because I felt like I needed to be rid of debt. I needed to have additional streams of income coming in. I needed to have all my savings buckets filled up. So I had this big checklist of things before I could even jump to entrepreneurship. So even before I became a business owner full time, I was sort of laying the groundwork, with how I changed sort of living my financial life. But some of the things I did, especially once I finally jumped to entrepreneurship, was I just didn't settle for the one business that I had. I
Mhm.
picked up some freelancing gigs. Um, I, 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 look for additional streams of income to add to the mix just in case and just to sort of hedge my bets a little bit. Um, I struggled initially with time management. When you have when I had the corporate career, there were expectations as to when I would work and when I needed to be on the job, and um, there's comfort in that to a degree. I mean, you sort of annoyed maybe with the Monday mornings when you have to go in early or whatever, but um, when you have unlimited freedom and it's like there's no expectations on your time, I really struggled with that. So I had to kind of get a handle on my time management, I remember. And then I felt additionally like I needed to boost my savings even more because I didn't have a paycheck anymore and I was creating my own paycheck every month. I felt like my savings buckets needed to be even bigger, in the entrepreneurship world just to um, withstand the ups and downs of the entrepreneurship life. There's no steady paycheck. You get paid when the business earns money. And so some months that can be big and some months that can be small. So it just depends. Luckily, I was sort of building and income was growing, but I didn't continue to spend that money as it grew. I just saved more, really, just to always be ready for the downturn. And then lastly, I would say I turned to different tax strategies, right? The tax code in the US is really meant or is heavily focused on helping the entrepreneur. They have a lot, especially in the area of retirement savings accounts. And so when you're on your own, you have to save on your own. And so I turned to things like the SEP IRA, um, the solo 401k, and these different accounts that as an employee, I didn't necessarily know a lot about, but when I became an entrepreneur, sort of some of these other doors opened up. So Yeah, it was a mindset shift of more income, more savings, and different tax strategies.
King, do you mind sharing with us like one of your time management strategies that you had to actually implement? Because I can attest to when you do work in a corporate job, it's more structured, right? You
Right.
know, this is due at this point, and that when you work for yourself, you have to be that structure. So, what was some time management strategies, or how did you start to implement it once you became an entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so at first I was working at home, and I found that because there was no other structure in my life, I didn't have really older kids yet. We were all just sort of there at the house, and my wife didn't go to a job at the time. So I needed, I found that having a specific place to have to go every day helped me. And so I met some other entrepreneurship friends in the area. They were going to either a coffee shop or like a co-working space. And I found that initially picking a spot like that and having people to go see, and to meet with, even though they weren't on my team or a part of my business, but
Hmm.
I knew there was sort of someone there. So in some ways I tried to replace that office environment with kind of building my own. And so that's probably what I did initially. Once my kids got older and started becoming more routine with going to school and having their own schedules, it
Hmm.
became a lot easier because I would get up to take them to school. And as soon as I came home from dropping them off at school, it was go time. And so it kind of helped me get into a little bit more of a pattern.
Hmm.
Um, at the same time, I'm an entrepreneur, and so things kind of come in waves, and so you want to ride that energy. And so there were days where I would work too much, I would work too late, and I would kick myself sometimes for my lack of time management. But I was just getting so much done, and I was so passionate about it that it was hard to really come down too hard on myself. So I guess I all that to say is, like, if the work's getting done, then and there's not a problem, when no one's screaming like, "Hey, you're working too much," then just go with the flow until it runs out.
Yeah. Yeah, you should be able to have that self check-in to let yourself know that, you know what, you need to just shut it down just a little bit,
Right.
just so that you can reset and recalibrate so that you don't head to burnout because you just always on, you
Yeah.
want to be careful with that as well.
And luckily, my wife's very good at something she really preached early on in our marriage was, "Hey, we need to have a 5:30 dinner every night, no matter what, no matter what's going on in our life. Let's have dinner at 5:30 together as a family." And we still do that today. And having that as like a set deadline, and I can go back to work later or whatever, but having that
Mhm.
one touch point every day really helped. So marry a good spouse who'll help you hold you accountable too.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So, following your insightful reflections of transitioning from corporate to entrepreneurship, I'm eager to explore the genesis of FinCon. Like, could you share what inspired you to create it, and how has it influenced the financial education and community building in the personal finance sphere?
Sure, sure. FinCon's been the biggest project I've ever worked on in terms of size, scope, revenue, lives changed. It's fantastic. But it was actually my second full-time business. So I started a blog at ptmoney.com back in 2007, and that was the first business that took me full-time away from my corporate life. And the way I was able to make that blog work and make it a success was part of that was because I connected myself with other bloggers out there who were having success, and we were sort of taking this personal finance, blogging movement forward, and excited about building our businesses at the same time. Um, and if someone wonders how blogs can become businesses, it's because they get lots of, or back in the early days, especially, they got lots of traffic, um, lots of eyeballs, and so that turns into ad revenue for most blogs. Not so much these days, but back in the day, that's kind of how it worked. And so that was my full-time business. I jumped to that, and I was so excited about that success and um, that new journey that I wanted to continue surrounding myself with the people who had helped me make that leap. And part of that was getting us all together in a conference or a trade show every year.
Mhm.
And so the genesis was just, hey, I want to throw a party and have all of our friends come and hang out and talk shop and have meals together, and let's celebrate this idea that we're online talking about finances, improving our financial life, helping other people, building businesses at the same time. Let's come together and celebrate that. We need a conference every year, and so it just felt right. I had gone to some other conferences, sort of in the internet space back in the day. They inspired me to kind of make our own for our community. So it was really just the community, and I think the conference was healthy for our community because it brought us together, helped us to share ideas. And I am much of a big proponent of, like, rising tide floats all boats, kind of mentality. So we all know that the personal finance problems in the world are a bit too big for one person to tackle.
Right.
The Susie Ormans and the Dave Ramseys of the world haven't solved it yet. And so I was a big proponent of, hey, we all need to kind of come together and collectively, like, help move people toward personal financial independence. And so all that to say is that the conference has certainly, I think, moved that community together and advanced the idea of personal financial independence forward. I feel like through the years we've sort of fostered that discussion and kind of helped move it forward, allowed us to collaborate with each other, and sort of have a spirit of community, like you mentioned. It's been a fantastic business to run. I love the community, love the people, love personal finance creators. I think they're a unique brand of people who aren't afraid to talk about money, and then they
Hmm.
have a passion then to help others fix those money issues, like you have a passion for. So it's a cool group of people to serve, and it's fun to get together. Live events are fun.
They are. And I love the community. That's what I'm hearing echoing even from when you were working at corporate. You wanted to still have that community feeling, even though you were an entrepreneur, and it's still streamlining into FinCon. So community is definitely key because that's where iron sharpens iron. And that's where you can create some synergy and just really get to hear other people's perspective who are like minded individuals. So I think that is really important. So, as a CPA and an entrepreneur, what key financial strategies do you recommend for achieving independence?
Yep. So I like to keep it simple, even though I am a CPA. Believe it or not, my CPA license and my accounting degree didn't really fully prepare me for having personal finance success. They taught me some things, but I still needed to kind of learn some things on my own. And what I learned was that for the most part, the things you need to do are pretty simple. You need to learn how to pay yourself first. So every dollar that comes in, you need to be stashing some of that away on a regular basis. If you're in debt, then certainly using it to get yourself out of debt as soon as possible, um, and to start building up a savings account, and then ultimately start investing as well, with that money. Do it automatically, set it automatically, make sure it's happening in the background. As soon as you earn your first dollar, automate your savings and pay yourself first. Make that your first priority. When I say pay yourself, I mean obviously your future self, and the person who ultimately need to depend on those dollars down the line. So do that first. Keep it simple. Put it into a savings account for your your saving your emergency fund, and then
Mhm.
use. I recommend just you know uh, investing in index funds for your retirement. I'm an entrepreneur, so I like spending a lot of my energy and time focusing on building my businesses. I don't focus a lot of time on investing, so I just kind of do the short and simple, sweet thing of diversified index funds investing. Um, Defer as many taxes as you can. That's another thing I would do. Um, I hate paying taxes, and so I use that to drive me. And so every year I try to shelter as much as my money as I can and put it into, whether it's my 401k or traditional IRA, health savings accounts. Just basically get that money out of the federal government's hands and stash it away for yourself for the future. So defer taxes. I've become an entrepreneur, and it's fast tracked my wealth and my financial independence. So I'd highly recommend anyone, if you think you have an inkling for developing a business, to start coming up with some ideas and start testing some ideas for business, because that's the fastest way to wealth that I've seen.
Mhm.
Um, And then continue to live within your means. No matter what paycheck you have coming in or what income you have coming in, you could always spend it. And lifestyle inflation, lifestyle creep is a real thing. So you always kind of have to live a life, I think, of stewardship, humility, making sure you're using those dollars effectively, and taking care of your future. So those are the strategies I would recommend to most folks.
What would you recommend to someone who's watching who just got a raise today? Would you recommend that they now suddenly change their lifestyle because now they can afford it? Or what would you recommend that they do with the difference?
Well, it depends on their situation, but if they have any debt or if they have any savings goals that are sort of impending, certainly use those extra funds to kind of put toward those situations until you get out of them. Um, Maybe take a little bit of the raise and celebrate, because you got it. Maybe half of the first month, put it towards something fun, but let it be something short term. Don't build your life now around that new income, right? Use the difference that between your old income and the raise to afford your future, whether that's ridding yourself of some consumer debt or boosting your savings and investing.
Good stuff. So let me ask you this. In your opinion, how do you foresee the future of personal finance evolving and what implications will it have for an individual?
Yeah, that's a tough question. You know, I sort of mentioned some of the strategies um, I would recommend folks do, and I very much believe in those things. Um, I think the future of personal finance is more. I think the tools and solutions we'll have um, to help us, start saving, start investing, get ahead financially, make smart decisions. Because the history books now have been written on what makes someone financially successful. Those simple things that sort of I mentioned. I think the tools and the paths for people it will be more laid down for you and it'll be more automated for you, right? So when you go to work get your first job, um, think about it this way, like your 401k will automatically come out of your paycheck, right? Or um, there'll be there'll be apps and tools to use that just make all this stuff sort of inherent, right? Because long-term investing through index funds, that's sort of won, right? It's won the 40, 50-year battle here. And so I think that type of investing for most people is just going to be the tracks are already laid down. And so I think we'll kind of default into those positions, which I think ultimately as a baseline will be healthy.
Mhm.
But I think to still win, you still need to make decisions and you still need to pay attention. And I think the winners in the future, because now we live in an information society where everything is sort of known and everything is sort of can be known. You can research any kind of tax, uh, advantage strategies you want. They're all on the internet. They're all on TikTok. I mean, all the information is out there at our fingertips. So the winners in the future I see are the people and the systems that can be laid down that can help people make like uh, help people prioritize in their life, right? So if if everything can be known, well, then what do you need to know, right?
Mhm.
So that's what becomes important is whittling down of all the information that's out there, what's important for you to know and what's important for you to take action on and prioritize in your life, um, versus sort of being overwhelmed by this massive amount of information that we have out there now and sort of and that leading to more confusion for you. Like, how do you sort of prioritize what's important? And prioritization, I think, is the skill of the future. In a world where everything can be known, it's important to figure out what to know.
And just to piggyback on prioritizing that information, as someone who's just really passionate about financial education and literacy, as you and I are, what steps do you believe individuals can take to improve their financial knowledge? Like you started talking about that
Yeah.
just now, and their skills.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big proponent of community and surrounding yourself with people who are moving in the same direction that you want to be moving in. So in some ways, align yourself with others who are making smart decisions. So people you see having success, figure out how to connect yourself with those people. Now, this could be someone in your real life. It could be someone who's a neighbor or a relative or a boss or someone you see having success. It doesn't have to be someone you know. It could be a podcast that you enjoy listening to or a YouTube channel. And so that person doesn't know you, but you get to know that person through their channel and their education. You sort of surround yourself, that person becomes like an important person in your inner circle. So find out, who you want to surround yourself with, and put them in your ear or in your life as much as possible. And that's going to have the biggest effect on, because you're naturally just going to want to live and act and do and talk the way that those people do. That's going to fast track you. Certainly, like I mentioned earlier, all the information's out there. Read books, listen to podcasts, look at YouTube channels, subscribe to them all so they're regularly like in your feed. If you have a time when you have a commute or you have a walk every day or you do laundry a couple times a week, like when is that period where you can sort of consume this information safely in the comfort of your own, earbuds, and take it all in and sort of absorb it. Be intentional about bringing this knowledge into your life, but it's easy when you can just surround yourself with those people and they're your friends, right? I mean, that's part of what helped me fast track financially as I got going. I started blogging about it. It was because I got to know these other bloggers, and some of those people are way more passionate about finances than even me, and doing really radical things with their money. And that became very inspiring. And it made me ask, like, well, why am I not doing that? Or it made me justify like a lot of my decisions. And so you need to be challenged in your life and, set yourself up to be challenged.
Yeah, be the sponge and
Yeah.
soak it all in.
Yeah.
So PT, your insights on improving financial knowledge and skills, that's really it's valuable, particularly in today's rapid evolving landscape. But I just want to build on that a little bit. Like, let's discuss how content creators and brands can adapt to remain relevant in this finance industry, especially with advancements like AI.
Yeah.
So how do you see these changes impacting the way financial information is disseminated and consumed?
Yep. Yeah, I think as creators, we're going to be forced to put more of our self out there, to be more real, to share more of our real lives and real situations and real examples, and basically just crank up the authenticity to the max. With AI out there, certainly anything, a lot of things can be written about, or told, or videos can be made about, but it's going to be hard to replace the individual. And there's nuance in each individual situation. There's story in each individual situation that's going to move people, that are going to connect with people. So I would just say focus as much as possible on like that connection and that realness as a creator, and that's how you're going to stand out. And I think that lends itself to, frankly, moving away from text a little bit. I think uh, audio and video are really where it's at for creators. I think they need to move toward that if they're not already, supplementing at least their blog work or their writing with some audio, with some bonus audio, or even an interview based, video channel, kind of like we're doing here, to crank up that realness factor as much as possible. Do as much real PR as you can. So get on real TV. As much as I'm a new media guy and I believe in, these new media channels, I think it still helps to get on the 5 o'clock news, to get, featured in big media outlets, legacy media outlets. So getting that kind of attention, like on real on the street attention, and then building just a real brand that connects really with customers. That's not this sort of just information database, but it's actually something that has a customer support, right? Has an about page, has customer support page, really is talking to their customer, listening to their customer, helping them, understanding them, has a feedback loop. with their customer and who they're trying to serve. So just getting as real as possible is what's gonna win. You know.
I agree. And also just that engagement, when you
Yep.
add that human touch, it just takes it to a whole different level because AI can't offer the type of empathy that a human can. So there's
Yep.
still room in there that we certain things can't be replaced. So I think that was good information. Now
Well
I can
said.
talk
Well
to you.
said.
I can talk to you for hours. So I have one more question, and then I guess I'll let you go. And this one might be a tough one, but what's your top advice for achieving financial success? Like you've given us so many financial strategies. Do you have anything left in the tank?
I mean, is this like the one thing? Can I only give you one thing, or?
No. Well, it says I would say top. So if you have three
Yeah.
tops, then you can give us three tops.
Okay. I'm going to sound like I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but I'm a big believer in entrepreneurship and its ability to fast track wealth. So if you have it in you to start a business or have that idea, test it out, play around with actually like providing something of value to a big group of people. Um, Secondly, you got to be paying yourself first in some
Mhm.
way, so do that for sure. Um, and then thirdly, once you're paying yourself first and you max that out and the business is working, it's throwing off cash, take the rest and invest it in real estate. And if you do those three things, like save your money, make more money, and protect it by putting it into a real asset like that of some sort, it's hard to go wrong.
All three of those were great.
Yeah.
Spot on. And it's bears to repeat. I
Yeah.
think it was good to drive that home. So with that, we wrapped up our insightful discussion with PT, where we covered a wide array of topics from financial strategies to him going from corporate to entrepreneurship. Like you've given us a lot of valuable insights to navigate through the finance world. So now I'm sure you're wondering, how do I get in touch or find out more about PT? And I want to share with you, if you look on the screen, you'll see all of his pages where you can find out more about what he's doing. He does a lot. I don't know if you want to briefly go into each one. We've talked about FinCon already, but also I see there's part-time money on here.
Yep.
If you want to go into that, as well as Women in Money.
Sure. Yeah. Part-time money or PT money is the original blog I started back in 2007. So these days we focus a lot on side hustles and things you can do to kind of bring in extra income. FinCon, as you already mentioned, is our annual conference and trade show. We'll host about 1,500 creators in Atlanta this fall in October. So check that out. And then we have an additional boutique event we called Women in Money, where we bring together just the women creators in the FinCon community and get them together for a smaller, more intimate, more mastermindy type of event. We're doing that in New York this summer. So if those are interest to you, check out the URLs. Renarda's listed there, and or just hit me up on email, pt@ptmoney.com, and I'll connect you and put you in the right direction.
Well, before we part ways, PT, I want to personally express my sincere gratitude for you joining us and giving us your wisdom and your insight, and just for saying yes, for being in this space with me. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure your insights definitely is going to change some people's lives. Like you've given them a wealth of knowledge for them to go back and really process. Like you said, we live in a world where there's so much information, but if someone can break it down, at least you know where to go, what to look for when you're looking for information. So just take it into bite-sized pieces.
My pleasure, Renarda. It was a joy to be on with you.
Thank you. And to our viewers, I want to thank you for joining us on this financial empowerment journey. This is all done for you to help you achieve your financial success. You don't have to be afraid to deal with it. You just have to take small steps. And when you take small steps, remember, this is how you achieve your financial goals. Do me a favor. I want you to mark your calendars. Come back with us on Wednesday. We will have another insightful conversation at 6:30 p.m. Until then, I want you to stay empowered, stay informed, and keep striving for financial success. Have a good night.